Okay, friend, question time. What happens in your mind, body, and soul when I say the word sales? Did you just throw up in your mouth a little bit? I know. It's such a controversial word. So many people hate, they say, I hate sales. I hate sales. I think I would probably put myself into that category if you pressured me a little bit. But the truth is that we all sell something. We just have to love it enough to do it. And so today on this episode, we're going to dive into that. We're going to go deep. And I get to introduce you to my friend Stephanie, who is a sales expert. Stephanie is a coach, a speaker, and the founder of her ministry, Women, Worship, and Work, and also her company, GLS Coaching and Consulting. She was climbing the corporate ladder and thriving in what some would consider a dream corporate career. But as so many do, she hit burnout. And Stephanie thankfully turned to scripture when that happened. And for the very first time in her life, she read the Bible cover to cover and it changed her. God used that season to spark a calling on her life that really now fuels her work, which is helping women and professionals move from striving into living with confidence, clarity, passion, and purpose. Stephanie is a John Maxwell certified coach, which is goals for me, y'all. And she's a published author. She blends real world leadership experience with biblical truth to guide others toward real, lasting transformation. And I'm so excited to introduce you to my friend Stefani Pady. So let's go. Today, I get to talk with my friend Stephanie. We have known each other for almost 2 years, Stephanie.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to have this conversation with her today. She brings so much to the table, and you are going to love her. So, welcome, Stephanie. Thanks for being here.
Oh my gosh, Dan, I am so glad to be here. And I am not going to hold you to a cadence. I don't like putting being in a box and that definitive, like this is how we do it. But I will say in binging and listening to your podcast, I like both. I like the guest conversations and then also just like the short, like give it to me. This is the tactical things that I can go do a little bit later today. And so I've really enjoyed watching you grow. And we might talk about that a little bit later. But
Yeah.
anyways, I'm excited to be here.
Good. So glad. So, tell everybody about you because you do something that is really interesting, and you kind of have two arms to what you do.
Yeah, that multifaceted,
Uh-huh. Yep. I mean,
multi-passionate.
how many of us are raising our hand right now? We were just talking before I hit record that I have like 12. So
Uh,
it's
it
like, it's
It's a list
confusing.
that never ends. I
Yeah.
just told, but before we started recording, I told Jan, I said, I think if I put anything else on my plate, my friends and my team and my family would tie me up and like put me in a closet and say no.
Yeah.
So I was in corporate America for almost 2 decades. And for the bulk of that, I did sales and sales leadership. So by the way, I hated sales. I thought it was a four-letter word for sure, so
Uh-huh.
slimy.
Mm-hmm.
But out of college, I moved to the big city of New York and I was there a couple of years. And when I was moving back home, I was having trouble finding a job at the same level that I had been at.
Mm.
And somebody just said, Hey, I can get you a job at this organization in sales. And I thought, okay, they're going to pay me a base salary. I'll do it for 6 months and then I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened in that first year was I made more money than I did 3 years working up the corporate ladder in
Of
New
course.
York City, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
And I just found that if you worked hard and were honest and fair with the people that you worked with, you could be very successful. And
Mm-hmm.
so I did that for, I think all in, it was like 17 years. And I did, straight sales where I was an individual contributor. And then I would move into a sales leadership role, and then I would move into a sales strategy role, and I'd go back into, running a region. And it was really just sales leadership for a very long time. And then in 2019, I read the Bible cover to cover for the first time, and it just literally changed my life.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So we can go more and down different avenues or whichever way we want to take it. But basically, in 2019, I read the Bible And God just opened up this entire world of now it seems just like, of course, you know this, Steph, but it was like I had no idea that my worth did not come from my boss or
Mm,
from my quota or from my performance. And then that turned into from my relationships, from my kids' performance, all those things. And once I learned where my worth came from and what reading scripture did in my own life,
mm,
it made me just have this burning to get scripture in front of women because I
wow.
believe with every bone in my body, and this is true for men and women, but I know it to be true for women because I've seen it. When we get our eyes on scripture and we let God reveal to us what he wants to, and then we start acting, everybody around us starts changing and we just have such an impact. And even if our circumstances don't change, we are creating impact in a different way that we've never been able to. So, about 4 years ago, I left corporate America and I have a coaching and consulting business. It's called GLS Coaching and Consulting, which stands for Growth, Leadership, and Sales. And that's really the bulk of the work that I'm doing. I'm still working with corporate professionals and we're working on leadership skill sets like kind of like your podcast, like very tactical, like what are the steps to giving somebody feedback,
Yeah.
like very in the weeds tactical leadership, sales, consulting, and coaching. Like how do you actually go out and do it when you're told no all day long?
Right.
And then I have an organization called Women Worship and Work, and the tagline is bringing biblical truth to real life. So,
Mm,
much like you, I think there's so many things that we know we should be doing. And the question is always, but how do I do it in my busy life? Like you don't have to sell me on the should. It's the how do I actually do it?
yep. Yep. I totally understand that. I think anybody in the entrepreneurial space for sure understands
Yeah.
that. But I don't think I know many people who would consider themselves not having to diversify attention in some way, whether you are working at home
Mhm.
with your family, whether you're working at home in a business, whether you're working outside the home with something, the should is a big deal. It
I
is a big
mean,
deal.
in every aspect. And that's
Yeah.
what I found. I worked for an organization that a lot of women worked at and a lot of leaders worked at. And this was
Mhm.
pre-COVID, but it was, you know, it was seen that there was not a glass ceiling. But
Mm.
the challenge is once you get to a certain level of leadership, and I've heard you say this before too, you're the only woman that has a seat at that table in the boardroom or on the team or whatever as, an executive. And then depending on your season of life, you could be pumping during the lunch hour. You could have to get your kids to different places, and it's the same for men too, but there's all these balls that every single professional is holding while they are also trying to do something in their career that hopefully they feel passionate about. And so I think it's just really important that we figure out how does an organization accept and work through the whole person, right? While
Mm.
still having accountability around performance and success and ROI and all the things.
Yeah, yeah. And I think for those of you out there who are not in the corporate space and are having to create that for yourself,
Yeah.
that is really important. That is a question that you need to ask. How do I create that for myself so that I don't lose part of me and who I am and where I should be focusing my priorities because I've built this or I'm trying to build this thing that is taking over my life. And I think you're exactly right, Stephanie, that the word is the key there because when we are in the word, the wisdom of the word is the filter that we run all of that stuff through.
100%. I don't in any way, shape, or form want to pretend that I have it all together because I absolutely
Yeah.
do not. And just this week, the beginning of this week, which by the way, we're recording this on a Friday and I cannot believe it is a Friday. It still feels like it's Tuesday. It's gone by so fast. But I just was in one of those, stages.
Hmm.
It was lasting a couple of days, but just as a funk, like pure apathy, burnout, all those things that we teach and we try to put bumpers around. And I'll just give like super quick. The last couple of days, I've been just in a better mindset and a better perspective. And I think there's really two things that I've done differently. One, I started filtering it, even though I had 100 things to do, just for a couple of days. I quit looking at what was the most urgent and I looked at the ones that would bring me the most joy.
Oh,
And
I love that.
And in doing that, in just a couple of days, I'm like, oh, I'm getting my mojo back. I'm starting to feel it. Like I love to, I don't do all my email marketing, but I love to write a good email, right? And so there's a few things that I had outsourced out that I said, I'm going to write this one. I'm going to write this blog all on my own because I love it. It fuels me. It gives me joy. And then the other thing was actually just like practicing what the word says, right? Like
Hmm.
though God tells us that he will stand in the gap for us. His word says that he will restore the time that the locust ate. So if
Yeah.
I'm pausing to go on a walk and talk with a friend and ministering and doing what Jesus has called us to do and I'm living like Jesus, he's going to restore that time later. And he has. And the way I've seen him do it is that thing that I was dreading, that PowerPoint, that whatever, when I sit down to do it, all of a sudden the ideas are there
Yeah.
because I went on the walk and talk and I did the thing that brought me joy instead of dragged me down. I'm not sure this is where you wanted the conversation to go, but it's where it's gone.
It is where it's gone. And you know what? That's one thing. If you are a newer listener to Her Faith at Work, you will know that I don't tend to script these things because the Holy Spirit always is going to have a better idea than I have. And He knows exactly what you guys need. So somebody out there needs this conversation right here, right now. I don't know who. If it's you, holler at me and let me know.
It might be me, Jan. It
Oh,
might be
well,
me.
and that too. And that's okay too. That's totally
Okay.
okay too. I do want to like reverse gears for just a second and talk about the proverbial F word of sales.
Oh, yes. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah. So, it's I think that um I'm not sure at what point sales got a bad rap. Maybe you know because you're in, the history of sales. You probably have taken classes on that and whatever. Um, but what comes to my mind is like the used car salesman analogy. And,
Yeah.
it's like smarmy and slimy. And then I was in network marketing for a really long time. And it's like, don't be a spammy pammy and, all of that. And so
Gosh.
sales just got a bad rap. And I hear it over and over and over again that people struggle with sales no matter what industry they're in, no matter what they're trying to sell. And the thing that is funny to me because I'm a galvanizer by nature.
Mhm.
And so for me, I just naturally if I'm passionate about something, I'm gonna sell you on it because that's
Yeah.
just how the Lord made me. That's it. Um, and so for me, it's like, what are you talking about? If you love something, you are going to sell it because you love it. And so talk to me a little bit about like your take on sales and how you fell into it besides the money. Because I know that the money part of sales is it's very lucrative. My husband's been in sales since we've been married, which is almost 38 years. And so I know that selling things has money attached to it. But there are people like my husband genuinely loves sales. And I know that there's people that do. And so I think we can get there. We just need a little
Yeah.
help.
Well, I think it will take a mind shift perspective, but let me first just say that even to this day, like let's pretend this was a sales call and you were a prospective client for me and we were having a conversation and you were to say yes. I would not thrive on the close of your yes.
Mm.
Now, most people that are salespeople like your husband probably would. I mean, I have a friend that to this day, oh, you get that yes in that signature, and it is
Yeah.
like,
It's a big
it's like
deal.
Jesus, it's the second coming. Jesus is
Yes.
here, right?
Yes.
That's still not me, but so my excitement comes from the work that we're going to do together. And I would
Mm.
envision, I don't know your entire podcast listener grouping, but I would imagine most of your listeners are in the second boat like me that are like, yes, if I never had to sell a day in my life, but I could just like actually have the work that I wanted to do without a fight, that would be amazing,
Well, they
right?
want to help people.
Yeah, they want to help
They want
people.
to help people.
I was going to get to the word help because that's the mind stuff,
Yep.
that's the perspective change that we need
Hmm.
to have. So I will just say most of the work I do today is not working in sales environments that I worked in where there was a big sales force because most of those organizations, they have the trainers, they have the models, they have the programs.
Hmm.
A lot of the work that I'm doing today are more like certain type of practitioners. Let's say somebody in a service industry or an accounting world are kind of like us, where a lot of what they're doing is actually doing the work, but they are also responsible for building a book of business and
Yeah.
building a clientele.
Yeah.
So I'm actually preparing for a session that I'm about to teach. It's around shifting your perspective on overcoming objections.
Mm.
And one of the analogies that we're using is that we can look at it as like we're trying to overcome, we're trying to sell, which means we're turning a radio volume, we're going up or down. And what I want us to really change is like, how do we get into the right frequency? Like, how do we just find the
Mm.
station, right, that we want to
Mm.
listen to and that we want to be a part of?
It's
So
good.
I don't know what it's like in your world, Jan, but in my world, I have a ton of things that my team and I are doing right, and we are doing great. And I have a ton of things that we are broken on. I have workflows that could be improved. I for sure know I am paying people to waste time sometimes because we're like recreating the wheel every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And if somebody were to have a conversation with me and get to know my business a little bit more, probably even vendors that I'm already paying today, if they wouldn't just accept at what they got my initial yes for,
Mm.
and they would take a step back and learn a little bit more about the bigger perspective of my business, maybe not just my email marketing, but what is the goal of my email marketing? What am I trying to solve? And where's my holdup? And asking some second and third level questions. And they could actually come to the table with a solution that would solve my problem. Sign me up, I am in.
Yeah.
And so I think what happens is that when we get to a spot where we're having a conversation with somebody, and I'm going to talk about conversation in a second, where it's like, oh my gosh, this is a sales call. Instead of thinking this is an opportunity for me to learn about somebody else's business or need and be able to help them,
Hmm.
we call it a sales call. And so then we freak out.
Yeah.
That's where we've got to change that perspective that we're doing the work that we're doing because we truly believe that we have some opportunity in some way that we can help. Now,
Hmm.
I want to get a little bit tactical there because I know, well, one, you're very practical and tactical in your conversations, but I
Yes,
don't
I
want
am.
this to be one of those things where it's like, yes, we should do. I want to give a little bit of how, but
Yeah.
let me stop for a second because I've said a lot. So do you want to interrupt first or you want me to keep going?
I need to acknowledge the fact that there are people on the spectrum, and I thank you for understanding that people are on the spectrum of where they land on the do I love sales, do I hate sales kind of thing. And I love the fact that you're going past the both ends thing and saying, no, 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 let's boil this down to the common denominator of conversation with a human being and trying to figure out how we serve them. Because I don't care if you're on one end of the spectrum or the other, it boils down to that. You're serving another human. And I think that you're exactly right. When we shift our focus, then it all starts to fall in line. And so that I just think that's really important.
Yeah, so I'll give you an example. So GLS stands for Growth, Leadership, Sales. The tagline is when you invest in your growth, you'll lead better and you'll sell more.
Mm,
One of the number one things that I work on with leaders actually comes from a model within a book called The Challenger Sale. So I'm taking leaders that are not necessarily in sales or salespeople, and I'm teaching them sales tactics. Why? Because one of my favorite quotes from John Maxwell is leadership is influence,
hmm
nothing more, nothing less. By the way, to some degree, life is influence, nothing more or nothing less.
mm,
And so what we really need to get great at is thinking about what are tactics and tips and things that we can do to influence people better.
yeah.
Now, in the world of social media and email marketing and all those things, which by the way, if you go to Women Worship and Work, I post regularly on there. So I'm trying to grow a social media following ineffectively, actually. So please go follow at Women Worship and Work, please.
Link
But
in the show notes.
I'm showing up consistently.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm emailing every Wednesday. We actually have great engagement on our email list, all those things, right? But when I actually have somebody come on board and join our membership group, it is usually because me or somebody I know has referred them over, has had a conversation with them, has gotten to know them. It's like 6 degrees of separation from
Sure.
somewhere.
Yep.
And so when I'm thinking about more on the business side, and if I were coaching one of your listeners, the first thing I would ask is who is your ideal client? Right.
hmm
And I think we know that. We know the ideal client, the ICA, the ideal client profile, avatar, whatever, from the lens of like social media. But are we taking a step back and looking at the people that are actually buying from you and
Yeah.
saying yes? Who are they? What are they doing? And where are they hanging out besides just online?
hmm
And even if they are only online, you have a completely online business, how are you connecting them in an actual conversation? Right?
Yep.
How are you getting on the Zoom, on the Teams, having a conversation? And then when you go to have that meeting with them, are you asking them 1,000 things about their business or about their need? Or are we doing some pre-call planning that's saying,
Mm.
you know what? I work with a lot of ducks, okay? And based on what the research I've done, you look like a duck, you smell like a duck. I should have picked a prettier animal. You waddle like a duck. I bet you quack. How's
Uh-huh.
the quacking going?
Yeah.
Right? And I'm asking questions based on the research. Um, One of the models I teach a lot comes from the book, The Challenger Sale. And listen, if any of your listeners want to listen to it, it is a sales book without question. Like, I
Mm.
don't want to sugarcoat it. But one of the things they teach in there is don't ask a person or a client or a business what keeps them up at night. Tell them
Mm.
what should be keeping them up at night.
Ooh.
What are you seeing in your business, in the work that you're doing and the clients that you're
Mm.
trying to solve? What are you seeing? And then direct some of that questioning around, hey, how are you navigating this issue?
Wow.
And
I
that
just
was a
want to,
lot.
I
It
mean,
doesn't sound simple.
that's like a mic drop moment right there because I will tell you that I don't I don't remember which episode it was. I'll drop it in the show notes, but just a few episodes ago I talked about ideal client and that's a freebie that I offer as an ideal client workbook, a clarity workbook, and I think that's one of the questions in there is what keeps you up at night.
Oh gosh. Well, by the way, you're not alone.
Well,
Most
right. I'm
most
sure.
people most people think that it's actually a lot of people's favorite question, but I'm not sure that we slow down enough and think about most of the time you already know what's keeping them up at night. And so the a better question could be, many of my clients struggle with this. How are you navigating it? Right?
Right. And I think that that is, and I'm probably fast forwarding where you were going, but I feel like the turning point there is not so much that you shouldn't ask that question because it would be, I mean, it's good anecdotal data, but in order to ask the question that you're suggesting, what it's not even a question, it's a statement. What this is what should keep you up at night. That requires a conversation. That's not a workbook.
Well, it's not a
That's me
workbook,
talking
it's
to you.
not a post,
Yeah,
it's not an email.
right.
It's let me let me get face to face with you in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
And there's only so much time that we have in our day,
yeah.
right? And so then if we're going to make time to get face to face with somebody, we need to make sure we've got the highest and best use of our time, that we're in front of the right prospective buyer, the right
Hmm.
person or company or opportunity that has a high likely to buy. And even if they don't,
Hmm.
we need to be quick to say no. We
Yeah.
need to be quick to say this is not the right fit or not the right time, or
Hmm.
whatever. One of my clients is a large national global organization, and they do work very like with high private net worth individuals. And I always tell them, I'm like, I'm not your ideal client, but oh, I can't wait till I am. Right? Like, I can't
Yeah,
wait till I make enough money that I'm
yeah.
like, I am your ideal client. And I think that's what we need to get good at, is really thinking
Mhm.
about, it's not everybody that can buy.
Yeah.
Who is the most likely to buy that we need to keep in our wide funnel?
Hmm.
And then who's like the highest and best use of our time? And those are the ones that we try to make
Mm.
connections with, interactions with, ask them for an opportunity to have a conversation with them,
Yeah.
get
That
to
is,
know who they know.
yeah. I mean, and that's the hard part, right? Especially for small business owners, because what I discovered 2 years ago, um, is that I was sitting around the wrong table. I was not in the right room,
Yeah.
and I had to pay to be in the right room,
Mm.
and it wasn't cheap. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
But 1000% worth it because the perspective shift that I got from taking that bold action and like I am not the same person as I was before I did that. And I realized that so many entrepreneurs and small business owners are bootstrapping it to the point that they will take anybody as a client because it's bringing in income of some sort. And at some point there is a cap on your ROI there because you're keeping yourself so busy with the small things that you don't have time to get in front of the right people to do the things that God really has called you to do.
If you don't burn out first,
Oh,
even then,
absolutely. That's a huge
right?
issue. Huge.
Yeah. There's something that you said that I meant to come back full circle, but listen, there's probably 1,000 books on this. But I mean, who was the best salesman of all
Oh yeah,
time?
Jesus.
Right? And think
Absolutely.
about what he did. Like, first of all, and I think I'm talking to myself right now. I want to be very clear. I'm not preaching at your people, I'm preaching at me, okay? But he he grew his ministry, they say, at a 3 mile pace, right? Like
Mm,
3 mile per hour pace, because he walked everywhere.
yeah.
He grew his ministry one by one, and also with stories,
Hmm.
and also with testimonies. And so when we're thinking about sales, there's a lot of different ways that we can sell that are not saying, "Hey, Jan, will you sign a contract with me
Yeah.
today?" Right? I can tell you a story about a client that I recently helped that happen to have a similar business, a similar goal, a similar mindset as you
Hmm.
did. And this is how we were able, this was like the actual impact we were able to make
Mm,
on their business,
so
right?
good. Yeah.
And so it doesn't have to be. And so I guess what I want to say is for any of the listeners that are, one or two employee entrepreneurs, like really trying to grow on social media, really they're being consistent in email marketing, getting the website up, all those things. I really want you, it's not COVID-19 anymore. I
Right.
really want you to think about where are you hanging out
Hmm.
and having those individual connections and asking for the next step. Even if the next step is not a closed deal, it's a
Yeah.
who else do you know? Where else are you hanging out with? Who else is in your network? There's a lot of different ways that we can grow our brand and grow our influence that is not asking somebody directly, will you do business with me? Which, by the way, I think that's an important thing. I think that we need to be confident in doing that,
Hmm.
right? Jesus did that too. He said, "Are you ready to be healed?"
Yeah.
Right? He said, like, go leave everything and follow me, which by the way, there's a lot of context that sometimes is taught
Yeah.
differently about. That's not the only way to follow Jesus is sell everything that we own.
Yeah.
But so I'm not saying let's not ask the hard questions.
Hmm.
I'm just saying it's not all or nothing. It's that
Mm,
spectrum that you talked about. There's a lot of different ways that we can grow our influence and make the conversations more naturally that when it's actually time to get to the asking,
yeah.
it becomes a lot easier.
Yeah. So good. So good. So if you had some practical tips for people today, because that's what I'm all about,
I know.
what would you say to them? They're like, yeah, give me the goods, Stephanie.
Give
Go
me
on.
the goods. Okay. The first thing is I would get really great at asking open-ended questions.
Okay.
Jan, do you know the difference between an open-ended and a closed-ended question?
Yes, I do.
Okay. See, but I said, do you? So do you see what happened? I asked Jan, do you know the difference of an open-ended or closed-ended question? And she said, yes, I do. And that shut me up. She told me she's good. She's told me she's covered. There's nowhere else I could go.
Hmm.
If I would have asked Jan, what is the difference between an open-ended and a closed-ended question?
Ding,
Then
ding.
she would actually have to answer it in a
Yep.
way that would demonstrate if she knows it or not. Do you
Yep.
want me to put you on the spot?
Oh no, I think you just sold it yourself.
Yeah.
Did you
So,
shut the person up or did you give them time to talk back?
yeah, because a lot of times somebody will say, yes, I have it covered. No, I don't need that.
Right.
And
And then
if
you're
we
done.
just and if we just change, how are you navigating this?
Hmm.
What would you think about? Then all of a sudden they have to answer.
Yeah.
This is how I'm navigating it. And you're like, oh, they've got it covered. Or they don't. And so then I can think about, okay, am I going to tell them a story or what's next? So that number one tip, by the way, in all aspects, in parenting and leading a team in everything, almost every single question can be open-ended. What, how, who, when, where they have to answer with details. But if you're asking questions that are close-ended, like do you, can you, will you, then that allows somebody to say yes or no really fast and just like shut the door.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
good. Good.
Depending on personality types, asking more questions in general.
Hmm.
So a lot of times we go in with our pitch and what we do and how we do it and all the things. And even if you're a bold personality like me, I'm not scared to go ask for it, to ask for the business. But I would be much better served asking more questions about the business first,
Yeah.
right? But if you're more on the personality side that is a little bit more shy and reserved or introverted, asking really good questions allows you to get information you need without being abrasive.
That's
So,
good.
so one, I guess it's ask more questions. Two, make sure they're open-ended. And three, I would say get to know the decision makers and people that know the decision makers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you and I haven't sat and really talked about our client base, but I bet you and if I were to ask you for a 30-minute Zoom call and 15 minutes, we talked about your clients, what you're looking for, your network. And 15 minutes, we talked about mine. We probably would end with some way that we could help each other do something,
Hmm.
right? So I would say get to know decision makers are people that know decision makers.
Yep.
And the last thing is always end with a next step. If I were to have that meeting with you that you and I just talked about, I would set the agenda up front. My goal is for us to have some opportunity where we can work together or help each other. So
Mm,
let's make sure we end this with a next step. When we're going to meet again, who I'm
mm,
going to introduce you to, when I'm going to be able to show you the demo. The next step does not have to be you're signing paperwork. But if it is a viable opportunity, either somebody in your network that knows decision makers or somebody that is a decision maker and you want to do business with them, close on a next step, whatever
so
it
good.
is.
Really good. Oh my gosh. I love these. And I know that as an introvert, sometimes pieces of that are more difficult for me than they are for people who are not introverts. Um, but I know that it's something that is worth pushing through the hard
Yeah.
because what the reward at the end of that is so worth it. It's so worth it.
Yeah. Can I read a Bible verse for you?
Of course. Yes.
Okay. One of my favorite words in the Bible is parrhesia, not parousia, which is like end times. It's parrhesia. Have you ever heard of it?
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay, this is what ChatGPT says about it. It says parrhesia is a spicy little Greek word that basically means bold, fearless speech.
Ooh.
So I want to read a Bible verse to you. Acts
Okay.
4:13. When they saw the boldness, parrhesia, of Peter and John and perceived that they were uneducated common men, they were astonished.
Hmm.
And they recognized that they had been with Jesus.
Ooh, that's good.
And so I just really want to encourage, I know your listeners have a strong walk in their faith, and many of them are really trying to step out in their calling and also support their families,
Hmm.
right? Both need to be true. And I think many times we forget that when we're doing that, and I'm speaking for myself too. Like if my team, when my team listens to this, they'll probably ask me to they'll play this clip for me over and over and over again to remind myself. But when we are walking in our calling because we have been with Jesus,
Yeah.
because Jesus has laid it on our heart, then it becomes so much easier to figure out those tips and tricks like asking an open ended question, asking another question, closing for a next step, because we're trying to move somebody or some organization in a way that will truly serve them. Right.
Mm.
And when we are doing that, it doesn't feel harsh or critical or salesy. It feels like we've been with Jesus.
Yeah.
And that's how it seems to other people as well.
So good. I don't think there's one thing left to say after that because we always end with Jesus if we can, right?
All
Always. Begin and end with
right,
Jesus.
awesome.
We're going to have all of Stephanie's links in the show notes. And I know that you have something that you're starting. Probably it'll start the day this podcast drops, but I don't think that's too late if people are like, oh my gosh, I got to get in on this. So tell us about that really quick because that's really cool.
Yeah, there's two things that I would love to share with you. Number one, I don't think anything replaces getting your own eyes on scripture. So, twice a year, we invite women to read the Bible with us in a group throughout the year. So, on October 1st, which I think is right when this is going to drop, we are kicking off the New Testament. And the link will be in the show notes. So you can go through it's Women Worship and Work Bible Reading Plan for Women. So you can go through, click on that link. If it's on or around October 1st, we're kicking off the New Testament. If it is after October 1st, 2025, like by a big degree, every year on January 1st, we read the Bible starting from the Old Testament all the way through. And so it's completely free. I would love for you to join us. And if you're interested in more, if you're interested in more of that whole work from work, home, parenting, relationships, boundaries, like how am I stepping up like fully in every aspect of my life? We do have a membership group that we have just decided to make to where the doors are consistently open. We've really in the
Oh, okay.
past only done launches, but you can find that under Women Worship and Work /suited membership. You can
Okay.
check it out in honor of conversations. I actually have a community engagement team member that will meet with you one on one if you want to know more about it. Because we are a community of women that connect. It is not a community where you go and hide. It is a community where anything is on the table, okay? From divorce to trauma
Hmm.
to Jesus to work to sales to kids. Like it is it's how we would hope church would be,
Hmm.
right? It's a community of women wanting to step forward in their faith in every aspect. So, anyways, I would love for you guys to check it out.
Love that. So all of those links are going to be in the show notes. Make sure that you go and follow Stephanie on all the places that are down in the show notes. And Stephanie, thank you so much for being here today. This has been an enlightening conversation for so many people and on so many levels. I'm sure I have notes on my trusty sticky pads. I have notes that I've taken. Why do I do this to myself? Why do I use Post-its?
I
Now
don't
they're
know. Look, I have
everywhere.
a remarkable right here. Have you heard of one of
My
these?
husband just bought one.
Well, and so but I only halfway use it. That's the thing. This is why I'm an easy person to sell to. Does anyone consult on Remarkables? Because I'll
Yeah.
probably buy from you.
Yeah, but these get used all the time. Like
All
they're
the
everywhere.
everywhere. Well, you know
Everywhere.
what? Just because I know you're online, I just look. I've got my right here.
Okay,
Okay.
good. Excellent. And if you don't know what we're talking about, go watch YouTube.
There you go. There you go.
Because this was just a funny moment. But thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you and everything that you bring to the table. And thank you for keeping the main thing, and getting people in the word, because I know that everything else is going to pass away someday, but the word stands forever. So thank you so much.